Today, we're going to deep dive into Cloud Code by using the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. Hi, I'm Alex, the architect from Back4app, and today I have something really special to show you. The ability that the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT has to write Cloud Code for you. And by the way, if you like this kind of content, please leave a like in the video and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll never miss out on new content like this. So what exactly is Cloud Code? Cloud Code is how we call our serverless functions, which is Node.js code that runs from our infrastructure instead of your devices. And there are many benefits by using Cloud Code. The first one is that your code is automatically scalable and secure. Cloud Code has the ability to deliver itself to new servers and start running to serve any number of requests. So when you write your code as Cloud Code, it's automatically scalable to match any number of users that you might hit. Second is the ability that Cloud Code has to use NPM modules, which can really accelerate your development, because if you found an NPM module that does whatever you need to do, all you have to do is to import those modules into Back4app and start using them. Then we'll have the speed advantage. Cloud Code runs on machines that are inside the Back4app's infrastructure. So when you make a query using Cloud Code, it will run in a machine that is deeply tied to the database machine. So queries being executed this way return much faster, and you only have to deliver the very final results to your users, which translates into a much better user experience. Last but not least, when you deploy new Cloud Code, you don't have to republish your app into the App Store, such as Apple or Google. So changing the business logic allows you to deeply change your code without having to redeploy everything all stores, which can save you a lot of time. But that said, many users still want to do all calculations and queries using the front end, which is far from ideal because it does not always translate in a very good user experience. But on the other hand, writing Cloud Code tends to seem complex for new users until today, because now the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT has the ability to write Cloud Code for you, and it's focused on writing very, very efficient Cloud Code, and I'm going to show you just that. So here I am at my Back4app account where I created this demo app, and in our last video we created this client data class where we populated with a few sample test data. And here I have my Cloud Code section where I can go my Clouds folder, and here I have my main.js file, where most people try to write Cloud Code functions. But you don't really have to write into this file. You can create multiple folders and multiple files and write your Cloud Code in a very organized way into these folders and files, as long as you import all those files into the main.js file. Now, the main.js file is the main point of entry for executing Cloud Code, but your Cloud Code does not have to be necessarily into this file, as long as you import the files containing your Cloud Code into this one. Now, with that said, today we're going to ask ChatGPT to create some Cloud Code for us, and it's probably going to write into this file because of practicity. So here I have ChatGPT, where I have selected the GPT-4 model, and I enable the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT. We already had videos here on the channel showing you how to do that. And I'm going to go back to our class so we can see which kind of Cloud we can use. Basically, there are three types of Cloud Code that you create. Cloud Jobs, which is a function that can be scheduled and it will automatically run. Cloud Code Functions that can run on demand. You can call those functions and it will execute. And database triggers, that are functions that execute when certain events happen into the database. For instance, you have the before save event that every time you try to save a new record into a given class, that piece of code will be automatically executed. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, you have these three types of code that you can produce. So here in my class, my client data class, I have a orders count. And as you can see, it populated with some sample data, and I have a few numbers that differ from each other. Now, what if I want to find out the client that has more orders within my system? So in this case, it would be Alice Johnson, which has 10. Now, in old days, I would need to go to my Cloud Code section, add my files, create my code myself. But now, watch what happens if I ask ChatGPT to do that for me. Into my demo app, Back4app, there is a class named client data. Write a Cloud Code function that returns the top 3 clients with more. What's the name of the property? It is orders count. Orders count. Hit enter and let's see how it's going to behave. So it will probably identify it needs to connect to Back4app to check the class, and it actually did. As you can see, to create the green balloon that you can expand to see exactly the request being made from ChatGPT to Back4app. And it's going to create, to get a schema for the class so it understands exactly what is being held into that property. And probably now it's going to write a new Cloud Code function. It's going to call it get top clients. And it's going to create a query and order descendingly. But let's wait for it to publish it on Back4app and see how it's going to deliver the code. So Cloud Code changes were successfully deployed. So if you go back to Back4app, go to our Cloud Code section, and here is a getTopClients.js file that it just created for me. So getTopClients, and it's going to make a query on the client data by ordering descendingly on the orders count. So the top one will be the one with the most orders and limit the result to 3. So this should pretty much get the job done. Now, this file should be imported into our main.js file. Let's see if it did that too. And it did not. So we can ask it to do that for us. So now please import the new file in the main.js file. There we go, it publishes. So let's go back here and refresh the file. And there we go, required get top client. So this should be enough for us to run this. So let's get the function name, go to our API section, console, change the type of request to post, type functions, / and paste in the function name, hit send query, and there you go. Here are our top 3 clients with most orders. So this is very, very easy to do, but it can also get as complex as you need it to. As long as you can describe exactly what you're trying to achieve, the plugin is smart enough to understand and, alongside with ChatGPT, generate all the algorithms needed in order for you to retrieve the records that you're looking for. Now, a few times you will need to work back and forth with ChatGPT because in the end of the day, we are limited to its interpretation of what you're saying. And many times I ask it to do something and it will get very close to what I want, but not exactly what I want. And then I have to go back and forth telling it to refine the function and trying to guide it where I'm trying to achieve, and it will pretty much get it done at some point for me. Now, we can also ask it to create some cloud jobs. A cloud job is essentially the exact same thing as a Cloud Code function, but you can also schedule the run for those. So if you need to run a task that takes a lot of time or perhaps do some data sanitization, you should ideally write that as a Cloud Code because you can just schedule the run and it will run automatically and return a job status telling if that job worked fine or if it had problems. So let's say at some point I want to clear up my client data. Let's say every night I want to get into this class and delete all the records from it. And we can create that by using a cloud job. So back to ChatGPT, let's ask it to create a cloud job that does that. So now please create a cloud job that deletes all records from the client data class. Now, you can put in more variables into this prompt. So, for instance, I could delete records that are older than a certain time or that has 0 orders for X period of time. Once again, you can go as complex as you need it to be, as long as you can clearly define to ChatGPT and to the plugin exactly what you're trying to achieve. And especially when you're writing code that deletes data, I really recommend you to create a secondary app and work into that app. You can clone the app if you need the data and work on that app until you get it working, because you never really want to delete data on production environments without being really sure that you want to do that. So it successfully deployed a cloud job named delete all clients. So let's check if it is there. So cloud code, delete all clients job. Here it is, delete all clients. It's going to go to client data and then make a query including all the records, so no query parameters. And it's going to find all those and then destroy all. Let's see if the main.js file contemplates this cloud job. It doesn't, so I'm going to ask it to please add that to our main.js file. So it seems to have created the correct request. Here is the require delete all clients, and it successfully published it to Back4app. So let's refresh the file and see if it shows up down here. And there we go, delete all clients. So I should be able to run this job now. And as you probably saw, when I gave the prompt, I told it to add that to our main.js file, which it could interpret that it should get all this code and put the code inside the main.js file. This is the kind of operation that I always tell you that should be exactly precise on what you're trying to achieve, because in this example, I left space for interpretation and it could actually put the code into the main.js file. Now, it was smart enough to understand what I wanted and put only a reference for the file, but it could be done differently, and then I would have to go back and forth with it until it gets it fixed. Now, let's run this job and see how it works. So here in jobs, I have all jobs. Here is delete all clients. If I run this, it runs successfully, and if I go back to my database, now I shouldn't have any clients in my client data, which worked. Now, if that was what I was aiming for, then I could publish this code to production. But once again, never directly ask the plugin to create code that deletes records or change it in a destructive way on production apps. Always work with a test app until you get working and are sure that works the way you want it to. Now we can ask the ChatGPT to create also database triggers. Database triggers are pieces of code that are automatically triggered when a certain event happens into the database. So we have multiple triggers, and you can create, for instance, code that executes every time you create a new record or you delete a existing record. And there is a list in the documentation of all the triggers that you can create. So let's say I want to create a database trigger that every time I create a client data, it's going to set a property for me. So from all the properties I have, one of those is a Boolean. I think it should be here somewhere. Date Boolean is active. And if I just try to add a new client here, let's call this complete name. So Alex K, and click add. You'll see that Boolean is undefined because I don't have any code setting it to me. So all the data will be undefined unless I set it to be differently. Let's ask ChatGPT to set this Boolean as true for every new record that I put. So Young, please create a database trigger which works on the client data class, and for every new record created into this class, set the isActive property to true. Now, there are a few ways it could do this. Let's see what it will think it's best. So once again, it's making some requests. And created a before save, which is pretty much the solution that I would implement myself. It could also create a after save. Now it's adding it to the main.js file. And it was successfully deployed. So we should go back to our Cloud Code section. And we have set active trigger, which is going to get the request, check if it's a new object. And if it's not, because it has a negative operator here, it's going to set isActive to true. So let's test that out. I'm going to go to our client data, and I'm going to add a new record in here. I'm going to call this Allison. And I expected to see over here, isActive to be set to true as soon as I click this add button. Let's see if it works. And there we go. It is now true. It actually added it twice. Perhaps it was just a caching from my browser thing, but it actually worked. So you can use this kind of process to check all the operations in the database and change data accordingly. You can also ask the plugin for what database triggers are supported in this class, and let's do that. Which other database triggers are supported for this class? Give a quick explanation of whatever each one does. So we have before save, which it actually used, after save, before delete, after delete, before find, after find, and that's pretty much it. So as you can see, you have triggers to work pretty much any situation you may face, and you can ask the plugin and ChatGPT to work code accordingly to build a fully work solution for you. And remember, there are many benefits when you deliver your business code as cloud code. You have secure, scalable, failure-tolerant code that is published into very powerful computers and can execute queries very, very fast. And until the other day, you had to work all this by yourself, but now you can rely on the Back4app plugin for ChatGPT to do that for you, producing very optimized code and giving you a lot of flexibility to operate your business. So if you like this kind of content, please leave a like in this video and consider subscribing to the channel so it can help us grow. Also share this link with a friend, they can learn something too. If you are a subscriber, thank you for that. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or an implementation you'd like to see, please leave in the comment section below. We always answer all the questions. I hope this content was useful for you and hope to see you back. See you soon. Bye.